The long-awaited Black Dahlia video is here, about a year after her initial release, funnily enough. And after many months of failed promises. I was busy. If it took this long, it was quite frankly just fatigue, but we can discuss that at a later date. The other reason is that I've been trying to gather some assistants for this video, because, you know, Dahlia has bunnies as her assistants, might as well have absurdly knowledgeable nerds. Today we come with the assistance of noconnection and Grayson Wells. With intros out of the way, what do you folks have to say about the good old gun granny?
Based on the wiki, Dahlia has an average attack paired up with an above average health stats. In hindsight, she will more often than not depend on her moveset quite frequently. This already resembles a meta unit that has been dominating every game mode and Twitter too. But jokes aside, Dahlia and Eliza do in fact share stats with most of her variants. Movement wise, she feels slow, but not stupid slow, so it's not as bad as Annie's backdash or what was it again, Umbrella. Dahlia's character ability is very simple to understand. It's a revolver mag with red shells. You can shoot her grenade launcher on the ground or on the air whenever you feel like it, and Dahlia will do most of the aiming for you. However, upon reload, you get 2 unique special shots. The 3rd shot will always depend on what element Dahlia is, and the 6th is always random. Standard shot doesn't do much. Simple bullet that has an arch whenever shot while going backwards. Fire shot is a small shell that passes through the opponent that can bounce off walls. Once it hits the floor, it will leave a small flame on the floor for a few seconds and deal some hits. Lightning shot fires in a straight line, and upon landing a shot, it will leave a significant hit stun window that lets you do more attacks. Ice shot has the slowest arc when fired, and upon contact will freeze the opponent. Railgun is an instant shot that fires straight and deals significant damage and causes brief knockdown. Buckshot sends the opponent flying to the wall when shot close range and gives you wall bounces. I was gonna say backshot.
Within Dahlia's moveset, we can find many valuable options, and while all of them bring something to the table, I'll just discuss the moves that we consider either essential to have or stand out for their unique features. T-Slip works as a debuff clearing tool. Simple to use and put some distance between you and your opponent for safety while also reloading your magazine. Empower is an easy access curse and also functions as a strong combo extender. It's simple to use and can be applied anywhere, and out of all of your offensive moves, this one's arguably the most desirable for your kit. Parting Gift acts as a remote bomb. You can attach it to the enemy or just toss it on the ground and activate its explosion whenever you want. You can also delay the detonation for Style Point. Now while it is pretty strong on its own, its power, its defining trait, its secret sauce, is in its ability to increase its damage exponentially with each debuff inflicted onto the opponent, and I think we've all witnessed before just how far it can go. Onslaught is strong and travels a long distance in an instant, although it can be tricky to aim your first time using it. The payoff is worth it though, as it's Dahlia's main method of gaining Deadeye. Girls' Night is... Look, we've all experienced it before, we know what's going on here. It's not very useful on offense, but it cannot be beat in defense. Bunnies have enough health to tank several hits, they spread out to make it more annoying and stressful on your end, their hit stun is very long if they land a hit, and worst of all, for some unholy reason, Dahlia's tier 3 is fully actionable. If the AI has both it and Girls' Night ready, and she uses the latter at any point, you might as well kiss that teammate goodbye, because they're not coming back. It's over. Speaking of tier 3, Last Call doesn't have any outstanding effects, but it makes usage of bullets, meaning that certain variants like Lethal Weapon, and for a Monger just to name a few, can find this move desirable to either power themselves up or debuff the opponent.
Marquee-wise, both of them are great. Metal Breakdown is alright for offense purposes, dealing extra damage on special bullets and inflicting armor break. Useful enough, but tame in comparison to No Time to Die. Whenever Dahlia gets hit by a critical, she gains haste and 1 stack of regen. And since she may get hit multiple times with crits, it can reach 5 stacks pretty fast. That makes most defensive Dahlias difficult to bring down. Because of haste, they'll tend to have blockbusters ready very early on. So enjoy getting fucked by Girls' Night Out twice per match, shitstain. Obviously, not all hope is lost, as Inflicting Curse, Heal Block and especially Inverse Polarity can counter No Time to Die. Just be careful she doesn't use T-Slip. Her Prestige ability also ranks among one of the most desirable, nearly practical on every Dahlia. After 6 shots have been fired, Dahlia can now gain Deadeye and inflict Death Mark for 10 to 15 seconds on reload. What makes this so great is that you can reload at any moment regardless of ammo left, and the Prestige ability will activate. It can apply to all instances where Deadeye can be useful, and deals massive damage thanks to Deathmark. Overall, Dahlia features one of the best, if not the best kit in the game. It has a lot of versatility for many instances, easy to access Deadeye for whenever needed, and it doubles down as amazing defense both with No Time to Die and Girls Night Out. Excelling in both offense and defense is not something a lot of characters can claim, but Dahlia is one of them.
To start things off, let's look at Trigger Happy. Her first ability already resembles Neuromancer that damages benched opponents, though the conditions to do said damage has to be with either standard shots that Dahlia carries, any other special shot that you use, i.e. buckshot, railgun, they won't work. Her second ability is pretty simple too. Dahlia will gain enraged stacks whenever the benched opponents take damage. Paper, she seems like a solid unit, being able to damage benched opponents and simple enraged stacks. Though the biggest weakness would be she has a low attack and sharing the same stats as in Denial. And if there were no benched opponents alive or you are just facing one opponent, her ability has no use. There are better options, but she's not entirely a bad unit. Just know when to switch it up when you have a good Dahlia.
Anyway, I started blasting. Bang! Bang!
Golden Gunner is the better bronze out of the two. Shocker that the main palette isn't actually better than the alt for bronzes, but it's for a good reason, and that being precision. She gets 5 stacks of it after reloading her chamber once it's been fully depleted, and even more so, with at least 3 stacks, she's able to make any of her next shots fully unblockable and deal 100% bonus damage. This in tandem with Metal Breakdown and Deathmark can lead to some pretty nasty damage numbers for a variant of her caliber. But the need for shot management can make fully effective use of her precision a little cumbersome for those looking for a constant precision user. She's much more favorable as a consistent zoner that focuses on absolutely dumping her entire mag onto her opponents, reloading and gaining her precision, then dumping out her mag again for high unblockable crit damage boosted shots. Pretty simple, yet powerful considering her low investment cost.
Bullseye!
Lethal Weapon is a variant that relies on chipping out her opponent's health rather than direct offense. Of course, she can hit somewhat hard despite her low base attack, but bleeds on bullet hit are her bread and butter. She's capable of landing about 5 hits on a combo, contributed by both Empower and the Ice Shot. The former in particular is an integral component as it allows Lethal to also bleed ICU Valentines and defensive Dahlias. Furthermore, with the addition of Last Call, you can effectively land 5 bleeds in one go with no need to combo. And there happens to be the convenient benefit of having your blockbusters charge automatically when nearby enemies, as well as recovering a slight bit of health. None of these abilities are necessarily the most outrageously busted out there, but they still make for some very impressive longshot potential for anyone to use.
The one unit I was hyped about because Doom is one of my top 5 games and seeing a Doom guy palette was cool. Oh, it looks like shit though. How good does she hold up? Well, she has a pretty mediocre special ability since one-time use abilities are said and done. You could argue the Doom in 6 lightning shots is pretty good, but the problem lies that you usually play against 3-man setups. So either A, you kill them way too fast and then the Doom becomes useless, and you probably wasted half a mag of lightning shots, or you have to wait until it kills the opponent and then you gotta kill the other one with lightning shots. Don't get me wrong, the 100% bonus damage with lightning shots is pretty good, but you can only do so much if the other ability is one time. Well, despite her ability being one time, she surprisingly still holds up very well. A proper setup and knowing when to reload on an empty mag could very well push the fight into your favor. My best recommendations on where you could use her would be the final node on Parallel Realms node, which is the time dilation one, single or double rift nodes, and obviously against water units to abuse element damage.
Soul Crusher is a light silver variant with more than just a pretty palette. She's got the ability to scale her damage up by 10% based on the number of buffs or debuffs that have been inflicted onto the opponent. She also has access to Deadeye and Guard Break, which means that she gains a stack of Deadeye every time the opponent gets a buff. As one could imagine, this combination of signature abilities gives Soul Crusher not only the privilege to keep a consistent power level advantage against potentially annoying buff dependent variants like Evergreen, Vixen, and Plot Twisted just to name a few, but also gives her way to crack open defense heavy variants like Model Leader and expose their sore spots by using her Guard Break and Deadeye. Her synergy with the parting gift blockbuster is great, considering both her and the blockbuster have an increase in damage that scales dependent on the opponent's debuffs, and using Stage Hazard can also boost her effectiveness since it grants even more access to guard break on top of her. Her main weakness is honestly herself. Since she automatically gains Deadeye, which doesn't stack by the way, it competes with her other abilities that would grant it to her, such as her Prestige ability and Onslaught. I mean, it's not too much of a big deal. Both her SA and Onslaught have 10-second duration for Deadeye, while Prestige is 15 at best, so at most you'll be cut short by only 5 seconds. Aside from that, Soul Crusher is an absolute blast of a variant to play. She rewards aggressive play and has literal explosive levels of damage.
Wicked sick.
Corrosive Agent is a common defender thanks to both her recovery, debuff clearing, and constant barrier gain on blockbuster use. This in turn makes buff control much more critical than usual, since you can't spend any blockbusters whatsoever. But it's not entirely impossible to defeat her. Heal blockers such as any Eliza with Chaos Banish, Wolfsbane, and so on can keep her in check, and certain inverse polarity variants like Psykid are an excellent choice. Furthermore, I'd like to vouch for Nonsense as an outstanding corrosive counter, given she gains 3 times the amount of buffs, but her attack is not very high, so keep that in mind. Speaking of offense, Corrosive can work in that field on the occasion. The barrier is decent to cover some reflect damage, and with 5 stacks, your shots become unblockable and inflict slime. In short, you can lock the opponent in a blocking stance and chip out their health should they gain any buffs. Even if you don't invest in her defensively, she can prove fun on offense. A diet Dream Demon if you will.
Oh, banana.
Red Rider is a fire variant that has a ton of utility. She trades in favor of raw damage and different techniques used to defeat her opponents quickly. While her attack percent is middle of the road, at least for Dahlia's, she's tied with Unfazed, she has plenty of abilities that can further hinder her opponents from gaining the advantage over her. Standard shots inflict Wither and Heal Block to the opponent for 15 seconds, when hit up close. Yeah, so she actually has to land her shots up close for those debuffs to trigger, so make sure you check your distance between you and your opponent before firing. Either way, both are powerful debuffs that can prevent your opponent from using their blockbusters, as well as easily shutting down annoying defenders, like any ICU Valentine or even other Black Dahlias with the No Time to Die marquee. She also has the ability to heal herself 50% of the damage done to opponents while they're suffering from heal block, giving Red Rider a niche but reliable form of sustainability. Putting this all together offers Red Rider a straightforward yet effective game plan that can be used both as a crit or critless variant. Overall, she's a great variant that specializes in shutting down annoying defenders' attempts at turning the tables of battle in their favor, while also having the ability to look out for her own safety. One of my personal favorite Dahlias that's surely worthy of your investment. Worth spending $250 on?
There's no fucking way!
Unfazed quickly became one of the most prolific Miasma users out of the available selection. However, she needs some practice to make the most of it. In order to start gaining constant Miasma stacks, she requires Thorns present, and to gain those, either her or the opponent need to land a wall bounce. In Unfazed's case, she has to corner the enemy and land a dash 2 or use the buckshot. Constantly landing wall bounces can net you near endless Miasma gain, letting you chip out huge chunks of health. If invested critless, she can be effective enough against Painwheels and so on. Defensively speaking, there are certain scenarios where she can theoretically work, such as being paired with Rose Tinted, but good buff control can take care of it no problem. And from this, it's safe to assume other Thorn sources will allow Unfazed to stack Miasma. Offensively, Inner Pieces support is the way to go. Nonetheless, Unfazed features high longshot potential and additional recovery to boot, so what's not to like?
What the fuck is stay hydrated for?
Alright, Martial Outlaw, amazing unit, the end. You could end it there and toss the rating. For one, she's the support unit that could provide haste to units that don't normally have it, which is a lot. Though this doesn't limit units that already have ease of access to haste like Apex, Heir Apparent, and Snakebite. However, there is even more to this. All teammates gain a 25% chance on hit to inflict armor break and heavy bleed. So yeah, a damn excellent offensive support unit. Hell, she can even use her own ability for herself, so it's not tied to teammates exclusively. Word of advice, use Apex Complex and Martial Outlaw. These two are like having Shaq and Kobe on your team.
Give it to him! Give it to him! Shakalaka!
Psycommander is a powerhouse, though she takes some time to get going. She first has to empty her magazine in order to gain 5 enraged stacks and final stand. This grants her quite a power boost plus some survivability, and practically makes the Prestige available for activation, so that's a plus. But it gets even better, as benefiting from Enrage, all specials grant 3 evasion stacks and Deadeye. In short, as long as you keep spamming projectiles followed by specials, you're technically untouchable, and as per tradition with Enrage variants, any other source of Enrage works with this ability, which can allow her to get an endless supply of evasion just to fuck with the AI. However, all she realistically can offer is just a raw power boost and some casual attack bypassing. Beyond that, she's pretty average.
To crime!
The new Dahlia on the block, Hex Caliber, has shown to be not only a powerful fighter worthy of standing proudly next to Dahlia's other 2 current diamonds, but proof that HVS time and time again know how to continue making banger variants for Dahlia. Alright, so her first signature ability grants her unflinching and permanent precision for 10 seconds after her or her opponent lands 10 combo hits. Now while she has that precision, her second signature ability makes any of those shots fully unblockable and grant her immunity. Hex wants a way to get into her opponent's face and constantly keep her precision time up by racking her combo numbers, as opposed to Gunner's more zoner focused playstyle. And that's where her unblockable shots will come in handy. They can be used as pressure tools to open up your opponent to attacks from a distance and close the gap on any of their advantages, with the unflinching being used as a safety net of sorts for some extra endurance. She'll take some time getting used to, as you'll have to time your attacks right before the unflinching expires to ensure that you'll get the most optimal time out of it. Otherwise, you'll have some gaps of not having any of her buffs active, and it can really break the flow of her game plan if not taken into consideration. But don't forget, this is Dahlia we're talking about here. She's got access to not only Deadeye, but also Deathmark too. Adding those up together makes for a dominating variant, as she's able to take any hits that come her way, takes full advantage of Deathmark and gains a massive damage boost, ignore not only any opponent's defensive SAs, not only their defensive buffs, but also any attempt at debuffing her too, and she still has those unblockable shots. She can make for a relatively annoying defender, granted her opponents don't use her very strengths against her, thanks to the no time to die and the 10-hit combo rule applying to both her and her opponents fighting her. And overall, Hex Caliber's really grown on me in the time I spent playing her. At first I found her pretty good, but the gaps in her abilities really put me off from her playstyle initially, and it felt like it hindered her potential. Now that I've gotten used to experimenting and playing around her SA with well-timed combos, she's quickly climbed up the ranks for me to becoming my current favorite Dahlia of the diamond tiers.
I'm totally pouting you! This is embarrassing!
Monger is renowned for her absurd strength. She may not be as fast or stable as Psycommander, but trades it for, of course, higher outputs. All shots grant either Enrage, Thorns or Regen. They're all timeless but are lost on knockdown, forcing you to be more careful. Outside of that, it's great for both additional firepower and self-coverage. But of course, she takes it one step further, as any shots deal extra damage per buff applied, further incentivizing bullet spam. Her main weakness would be having little to do in Rift battles, as her recovery isn't very efficient and doesn't get farther with damage increase alone. That said, the damage she delivers makes her desirable regardless. I invite you to give her a shot if possible, more so if you happen to have Last Call available.
What the dog doing?
Not a lot of people know the infamy behind Unholy Host, though let's worry about her current abilities. Host can inflict curse from tagging in or an opponent tagging in, and this includes a full buff wipe. Already the first ability is wild, being a mix of Chaos Banish and Sekhmet Bite, and her second ability follows up even better. While the opponent is cursed, she will drain 2% health per second. You may be asking already if she's offense, defense, and the answer is yes. On a side note, she can be used as a critless unit too if you really care about don't poke the viewer nodes. So she's essentially a jack of all trades in any game mode, having either no time to die or metal breakdown. Doesn't affect her performance much, though in technicality, if you want a defensive tall lady, go with no time to die. Or be a psychopath like me and build one with metal breakdown and the other with no time to die.
Suckers!
Well folks, I'm gonna have to ask you to bear with me on this small end of the video outro, or whatever you wanna call it, but I'm afraid this will be the last video I upload in terms of SGM. I know I've claimed I would do 2, which includes this squiggly video, but I just don't feel the motivation for it, and I doubt many people actually truthfully cared. If I uploaded this one, it was more than anything just for the sake of completing the job, you know? We committed to making a collab, so might as well go forward with it. So basically just not to waste everyone else's efforts. Outside of that, I would also like to take the time into reflecting as to why I decided to quit. I've been monitoring the release of guest stars for a couple of weeks already. Truth be told, they looked somewhat flashy, but at the same time they haven't captured my attention either. They were more or less additional blockbusters. Sure, there was some drama because they were basically gonna feature stats and whatnot, but I can't say I was too bothered by it. Additionally, I really doubt the game will have some sort of exponential growth in terms of features. More than anything because it's a rigid concept, with a whole hand-drawn sprites and shit. Not to say that it needs to have a carding game spin-off or anything like that, but it's really difficult to get away with side features, or side game modes, or whatever the fuck. And also at this point, I don't even know what the fuck I would like for the game. It's stuck in a place where it would be cool if it got new things, but also I don't even know what I would like myself. Hell, you could say the same for the audience, like, beyond basic improvements to Catalyst and whatever, what else would you like? Like, sure, you might have some formulated idea, but will it truly be a departure from prize fights and rift battles and all that crap? I don't know, I guess it just gets redundant as a whole. Either way, I can only be grateful to have found such a magnificent community, and I can only hope to strive for delivering something else that they may find entertaining. Will I return to this franchise? Yeah, probably. With that said, I'm gonna go fuck off for like 2 months or so. Maybe in the future I'll just come back making VTuber content. Now that'd be fucking hilarious.
Hello, this is probably the end of the video, right? And if you're still watching this, you don't need to listen to this, of course. This is just my way of saying goodbye, you know? When I first began SGM, I was just a fucking kid in high school, right? Started playing when Annie dropped around, let's see, late 22, 23, I think it was late 22, you get the idea. I didn't know anything about the game, I didn't know anybody. The only person who told me about the game was this friend of mine in high school. I liked the game, the dude showed me what they were doing with the game, the characters, the combos. That shit was sick. I liked it when I first began. I was like, oh, that looks cool, I gotta try this game out, you know? I decided to just try it out for a few days, played it casually while still doing schoolwork, you know? Years went by, not years went by, but a couple months went by, right? And I got into the community. Didn't know anything about the game, so I just asked for the guides, any forums. So they would link me to this channel right here that I'm talking with, or we're talking through right now, Kevin's. It's kind of crazy how shit goes around, right? I never expected to make it here. Because at first I was like, oh, the game is so cool, like, there's a bunch of shit you could do, like, oh, they got prize fights, they got rifts, they got a cool as fuck community, you know? As time went on, I started to learn more shit. I got my own kind of mojo, my own niche. I got into Black Dahlia, but I don't know where I'm going with this. I think Kevin started this for me. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be doing what he was doing. Because he liked squiggly, I was like, damn, that's cool as fuck. He got every single squiggly max. That's tight as hell, you know? So I decided to just have my own niche at some point in the near future. I never thought which character it was gonna be. Up until they released the, what was it, 5.2 update with Dahlia. I really like Dahlia. I'm like, fuck it, let me wail for her. And I found my niche. I found the thing that I liked. So I kept doing it, I kept doing it. I kept doing it to the point I perfected my craft. I understand why you're leaving, dude. Like, I don't blame you whatsoever. I'm happy for you, dog. You did so much shit. When you first started this off as a simple shitpost channel, feels like a long time went by, you know? Like, so much shit happened, and now we're here. It's still you after everything you went through. Or something like that. You have my thanks, man. Besides, I'm still gonna cash in that favor. I'm still gonna pay you for that commission I'm gonna ask you to do. So you're not entirely gone, but you have a couple of loose ends you gotta tie up. But I don't wanna keep talking for too long.
Pues yo estoy casada, ¿eh? 300 euros.
¿Ese qué es? ¿El anillo de
El
pedida?
anillo de compromiso. El más bonito que hay en Huelva. Me casé por el juzgado, el 11 del 11 del 11, como el cupón.
¿Y su marido?
Está en el centro penitenciario.
¿En la cárcel?
Sí.
¿Por qué?
¿Eh?
¿Qué dice la sentencia?
La sentencia, pues no sé, porque no la he leído.
¿Pero usted no sabe por qué su marido está en la cárcel?
Sí, porque la tienen tomada con él.